and welcome to PPC Live, the podcast. I'm your host, Anu, the founder of PPC Live. And nearly every week I come on the show. On the show, we have a different PPC expert speaking about a mistake that they've made that was quite significant in their career, something that really changed their perspective about account management or dealing with a client or how to audit accounts, moving forward. I went to set things live, moving forward. Yeah, they shared what was disappointing, but also who was supportive along the way, the things that were surprising along the way, and the biggest lessons that you should take out of it so that you don't make the same mistake. Today, I have the delight of speaking to Craig Graham, who has been in the industry for about 15 years, has managed, multi-million dollar accounts, and still does that and still tries to help businesses focus on what's important, not just in Google Ads, but in their whole marketing sphere. And we talk about, the mistake that really led him to have that point of view of ensuring that when he's auditing, he's not just auditing the Google Ads account, but what their whole marketing life cycle and ecosystem is. So yeah, let's go speak to Craig. Craig, welcome to PPC Live, the podcast.
Hi, Nu. Thanks for having me.
My absolute pleasure. I'm so delighted that, this is for me what I call Craig is a great example of, keep being consistent. Because I think I messaged you maybe years ago, Craig. I know I did tell you I was going to do this, but Craig ignored me for a while. Can I say? But no, he didn't. Well, it was really great. You didn't reply. You're like, oh, I knew long time coming. Yeah, I joined the group. And then even I looked more into what Craig is about. And I was like, he would be a great guest for our podcast. So yeah, I'm really glad we were able to book him in. So let me introduce you to Craig. Craig is a paid media and attribution expert with 15 years of experience managing more than $100 million in ad spend across Google, Meta, Microsoft, and ChatGPT ads. We know that is a new, what would I call it? Like a new infinity stone for the Thanos thing. Yeah, we now have ChatGPT joining the crew. So yeah, today he now manages over $30 million in annual media spend, helping brands move beyond surface level metrics to understand which advertising investments are actually driving revenue and real business outcomes. His experience spans e-commerce, lead gen, legal, and multi-location healthcare, including helping build an attribution system for Smile Doctors that contributed to significant growth in paid media investment and production. And actually, Craig, can I ask you about that attribution thing? Because I know, speaking to so many people, we are like, attribution is such a nightmare. And it's just a matter of just making sure that you're doing the right channels, like which actual channel deserves which budget can just be so confusing. So and this is not going to be like the key main of our topic. So just like a few sentences of like, how are you able to create a solution for a healthcare system, an attribution solution?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And it is complicated because there's so many, disconnected platforms that all need to talk to each other, basically. Like the whole idea is that you want to take whatever you're doing in paid media, if you're using Google and Meta, you want to take whatever's happening there, your clicks and your ad spend. And then there's a whole bunch of things that happens. And then at the end, there's like money that transacts somewhere, right? Yeah. So it's, in my mind, all about connecting as many of those dots as is possible and within compliance regulations and things like that, if we're talking like US healthcare.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's, connecting the start to the finish as best you can, but within like attribution and trying to decide where do I spend the next dollar and things like that. I think the way that I think about it is it's not necessarily about a particular attribution model you should be using. It's more about understanding all of the different marketing channels you're running and how each of those can be defined by different attribution models. So you use them in different ways. So like if you're using Google Ads, search and shopping, those are primarily click-based, typically kind of mid to low funnel channels. And you can use click-based attribution models to understand directional contribution of those channels.
Yeah.
Whereas, Meta, YouTube, TV, other higher funnel channels, you're going to be using more like view-based and impression-based attribution models that help give you a directional understanding of the contribution of those.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of look at all of them, in my opinion, individually and collectively to get sort of a picture of what's happening. And then the end result, moving up or down, is kind of your,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the goal you're trying to achieve, and the thing you're measuring against, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And that does sound quite a bit of like a nice complicated process, and it just makes me think about everybody thinking what AI is going to take over. And I feel like just throwing that into an AI system is going to be really hard. There's definitely going to need to be some, if not a lot, of human intervention, just making sure that, because I imagine an AI would be like, oh, same attribution model for, all the system and that kind of thing, but you need to look at all the channels differently, right?
Yeah. I think that's a great. It's like that's AI is a tool, and you can train that tool based on your knowledge. So if somebody like myself who has quite a bit of experience in marketing comes in and helps tell the AI tool what I know,
Mm,
it can help with the reasoning side of getting to like better answers faster in some cases.
hmm
That's helped with all the context of the knowledge that I have.
Yeah.
And whereas if you just go into an AI tool blank and you go, hey, help me build an attribution system
Yeah.
without any context, you're going to
hmm
get no.
Yeah. No, nowhere at all. Nowhere at all. That's going to be a very great snapshot for like different clips from this show. But let's get on back on track to this conversation. I also like to I get my guests to give like a fun fact about themselves. So yeah, great, Craig, what's your fun fact?
A fun fact, yeah, what can I say? I've got two kids and a wife, and they are where I spend all my time when I'm not working.
Yeah, how old are the kids?
They're 6 and 9.
Bless. That's a nice age. So you guys
Yeah,
did them close. Yeah, sorry.
no, sorry, I was just gonna say two little boys. Yeah,
Okay.
pretty close in age, like 2.5 years apart.
Yeah.
So yeah, I used to have a life, and then I had
Then you had
and,
kids.
and then
They
I had
become the
kids.
life.
Yeah, and now I work and I take care of my family.
That's an honorable thing. I mean, I'm not gonna go down the pathway of like where have all the good men gone? 'Cause that like I'm glad, like some guys
Oh,
I feel get it, and it's really great to hear that. Yeah, my life is my wife and kids, providing for my wife, being the man of the house, and not just being like, oh, the woman's house is in the job is in the home. Like I love that. Even like when we were chatting like yesterday, you were like, oh yeah, working, just taking the kids out for something. I was like, that's that's actually quite cool. So
yeah. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I'm some kind of great person or anything, but I mean, I definitely have a blended life work
yeah,
balance, if that makes sense. It's like
yeah,
my work and my life are kind of all
yeah,
intermixed.
winter mixed. But anyway,
Totally.
let's get into the the crux of the chat that we have for today. Again, a big huge thank you for Craig being on the latest on the long line of list of fantastic, brave paid search experts, no doubt, as sharing the mistakes. We always share the wins. We've already done, I introduced you, and Craig has managed 30 million, $100 million of accounts. So this is not a story of like, he made a mistake and that's it, it was done. That the path to success is littered with mistakes. And oh my God, I can't believe I did that. So really, really grateful that Craig that you're joining us to share one of your interests. So I'm hearing from the giggles that he's already eager to share what he's gonna do. So what he did. So yeah, Craig, please, without further ado, what is the F up you'd like to share with us today?
Thank you so much, Anu, and pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. Yeah, no, like I was saying when we were talking earlier, like the mistakes are numerous and abundant, unfortunately, or fortunately. I mean, I guess that's kind of how I learned to learn, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Ultimately, when you make mistakes, you adapt and
yeah.
you get better.
Mm,
So
exactly.
I think what I wanted to cover was about how early in my career I was working with a client, and this happened numerous times with numerous clients, but this particular client, I was primarily working on Google Ads side for them.
Mm-hmm.
And every week, my boss would come in and say, revenue's down. He would just
Mm,
kind of lead with, hey, revenue's down. And then I was kind of left to figure
figure it
that
out.
out.
Yeah,
We were a relatively small team. It was an
yeah,
e-commerce brand.
right.
And, this person had a lot of their own ideas and insights about what could be happening. It was all usually very marketing focused,
Mm,
usually Google
mm,
Ads,
mm.
which is
Yeah.
where I was spending most of my time. And so then I would, audit the account, and I would change the budgets, and I would change the bids, and I would restructure the account. And then, things would start looking good in Google Ads. Our metrics looked good, conversion rates better. The CPAs are looking better, et cetera, et cetera. All the things you tend to look for in a Google Ads account. And we would check all the boxes. And then my boss would come in and tell me again the following week, like, hey, revenue's still down. Like, what's going on? And this would happen over and over and over and over again, where,
Yeah.
maybe we would make some adjustments in Google Ads and things lined up for a little bit. Revenue's doing better. So we tell ourselves, hey, I think we did the right thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then soon enough, it just wouldn't stick. It would just, peter out, and
Yeah.
they'd come back and be like, hey, revenue's down again. What's going on? Run,
Yeah.
so we're in this constant loop of chasing our tail, or I was chasing my tail, just trying to figure out what was happening. And eventually, once I had done everything I think humanly possible within a Google Ads account to try and optimize it,
Yeah.
I started asking about financial metrics. I was like, hey, like, if revenue's down, I'm not finding out the reasons in Google
No.
Ads. I'm not
No.
I'm not seeing a lot of the, even looking in Google Analytics, where I can see some like across channel
Mm.
metrics, wasn't giving me the insights that kind of helped me understand anything.
Yeah.
So it was when I started asking about the business level metrics, like, hey, what are your, can I see some of your financial statements, and like just get some insight into your product level margins,
Yeah. Yeah.
which was all new to me back then. And so I was, grasping at straws a little bit this early in my career. And it turned out that my boss didn't really have those answers either.
Love it.
So then, and they were also a little bit apprehensive to give away that kind of information too,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And I think which is common, and some people keep those cards pretty close to their chest, and that's
Yeah.
really understandable. But I think
So
for,
sorry,
yeah,
just very clear. Just want to say, like, so were these a client? You were in an agency, and there was a client, or you were in house?
yeah. So I say so technically, they're my clients still. So I've had this
Okay.
client for like 12 years,
Okay.
but they were a job. So I was working at, like, for a brand in
Yeah.
house
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But eventually, when I started my own company, I ended up converting them to a
Fine.
client.
Yeah.
Yeah, et cetera. So if I'm using the words interchangeably, so I'm speaking all over the map here, but
No, no, because I just wanted to, because you said at some point your boss came in, and I'm just confused why I then turned into, like, they didn't want to give you the data was, I was like, well, if you work for them, because I feel like my brain put it, one plus one together, and I was like, okay, yeah, if it's his boss that's, telling him revenue, so that means you work for the brand, but then they don't want to give you the data. But I'm like, wait, if you work for them, you'd assign NDAs and all that in your contract. And so why wouldn't they want to give you an employee the data that will help him do his job better?
it
Yeah.
was my exact question.
I'm glad we're on the same page. Good. We got
Yeah,
it.
100%.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't speak for them, but I'm sure there were reasons, and it could have been just that they didn't really know, like, how to get that information to me
Yeah.
in such a way that I could digest it, or I'm not really sure. But what what
Yeah.
what ended up happening was,
Mm.
over time and meeting with finance, and
Okay.
like I would meet with their finance team and try to understand things. And they weren't very in tune with marketing.
Okay.
So
Good.
I'd have to teach them a few things, and they would teach me a few things. And over time, what ended up happening is I would, working with my colleagues, collect all of the data, or as much of the data as I could possibly get, started building financial models and kind of connecting the financial side, the operations side,
Mm.
marketing side. And things started to get a little bit clearer over time as to, why revenue's up, why revenue's down, why revenue might be up, but profits down, why, we're not making enough revenue to support underlying specific costs. Like, there are just so many components
Yeah.
that go into operating a successful business that I was trying to solve by purely looking within a Google Ads account.
That's
That just I was just set up for failure right from the beginning. It was just
yeah.
it was just not possible.
Yeah.
So I think what my realization there was is that Google Ads or any channel is a component, often an important component, but a component nonetheless of a larger machine.
Absolutely.
And that machine includes all of the other channels that are being run to generate any kind of marketing success, from like SEO, organic search. Today it's like, all kinds of things on the organic side with AI and
Yeah.
AEO and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you got your social, Meta ads accounts, your organic social, your email, your SMS, all the channels. And then you also have operations and what are people doing in the sales team? Like, how
Yeah.
are they talking to customers?
Mm,
And then you have product level margin. And
yeah.
like, maybe your Google Ads account is really pushing a lot of a particular product to
Mm,
people that doesn't
mm,
have a very high margin for
mm.
the business owner. And those are things that you would have no idea of if you did
No.
not connect those dots and speak to people who have that information, and then, supply your side of the story to them. All of us within that company all had different sides of the same big story, and none of us were really communicating that with each other. And eventually that's kind of like where a lot of my thinking today comes from when it comes to thinking about systems, because the business is a system and it contains many different components. And that's how I try to approach any kind of marketing these days, is from a systems level and understanding the health of each of the components within that system. So
Yeah.
it was an incredibly helpful lesson,
Yeah.
frustrating for a couple of years,
I was just
but
going to come to that, like, we don't want to just hear about the good lesson journey. At what point where the thing was it just so frustrating? Like, you do the hard work of optimizing and these guys are coming back saying the revenue is down. Like did you did it, and I don't want to, like, I hope this doesn't sound like a bad question. I'm not like kind of trying to put you down in any way. I apologize. But like, did it take you 2 years for you to realize, or like that it was not a Google problem? Or were you like, okay, let me just keep trying. I don't think it is, but I'll try one more thing. How did that journey for you really, in terms of realization that, you're not the problem? There's a bigger problem. When did that really start to kick in?
yeah, well, it was tricky because I wasn't getting access to a lot of the financial data.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to like get the answers that I was seeking. And
Yeah.
so I didn't know if that's where the answers were. I just
Right.
didn't
Well,
know. I didn't know what I
yeah.
didn't know. And so it took me like, I was working across at various times. I would start working like not just in Google Ads, but then I would start, talking to the other members of the other marketing teams, and like slowly connected the dots over time that this is like not
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
problem
Yeah.
with me or what I'm doing, which, that was after some time of beating myself up and being like, am I just
Yeah.
stupid? Like, can I just not, am I just
No.
not good at this?
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah.
And, and instead of just throwing the towel in and giving up, I just kept grinding away
Yeah.
and asking questions
Yeah.
and trying to sort out, because I knew there was an underlying answer somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm talking like, this is like, man, this is like 13, 14 years ago or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there wasn't a lot online at the time that spoke to this specific problem.
Right.
Even today, I
Yeah.
feel like there
Yeah.
isn't significant amount of information out there that speaks to the holistic marketing problem and as it
Yeah,
relates to
yes,
business.
I agree. I think the only even when you were talking, I was like, should I bring it now? Is that something that doesn't even need to be brought up? But I will bring up the fact that Kirk Williams, you might have heard of him. He's also like writes a lot on X and on LinkedIn
Hmm.
now, and he came
Yeah.
out with this book called Ponderings of a PPC Professional, and I would say one of the biggest takeaway. He pointed to loads of things, but one of the biggest takeaway was about the holistic of how, even if you work in Google Ads, being very holistic about this. And like, if a client comes and they go, oh, we want to do paid search, and they tell you, and you're like, okay, what else are you doing? They're like, oh, nothing. Will I paid search? Run for your life, because paid search can't work on itself, because it
Yeah.
needs an ecosystem, and it needs, upper funnel. Like paid search usually, especially with e-com, usually works best with lower funnel, but we need to attract the demand kind of thing and do something in terms of the branding, making that your brand already aware, unless you're going to be competing in a very large space. With your Google Ads campaign, you only ever see high CPCs. Revenue will not be good. But yeah, the holistic. So he's someone definitely I'll tell folks to check out if they also feel that no one's talking about holistic. Check out Kirk Williams' work. He's definitely done stuff around
That's
that.
awesome. I'm gonna have to read the book because
Yeah,
that Kirk's speaking my language for sure.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
100%.
Yeah,
And I think that that nails a huge point, that it doesn't work on its own. Nothing works on its own.
no,
It's not, it just doesn't work that way. There's so many other pieces that come in that help make things successful. And I'll add briefly that I worked with a paid media agency for years as well, doing like freelance contracts entirely within Google Ads. And the business model was that that's all they did was Google Ads, didn't manage any other component of the marketing stack. And holy moly, was it ever frustrating to be able to, it was the same situation I'd experienced with my other,
yeah,
client / job years ago on repeat
yeah,
with a whole bunch of different clients
yeah.
where you'd make a change. You'd have no visibility into what they're doing with meta ads, for example, which in e-commerce drives often, in my experience, a ton of the upper
Yes.
funnel awareness. Yeah. And so it's like, I don't know what you're doing with meta ads. And if we're not
Yeah.
going to have any insight into that, how can I give any kind of reasonable explanation for why what is what in Google Ads?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because that's the thing, the customer, every customer is multi-channel. There's not a time where someone has seen one Google ad, never heard of your brand, never heard of the product, maybe, and gone, I like it. I'll buy it. I'll click through. I'm like, no, they would have seen a TV ad. They would have seen an outdoor ad. Someone, they would have been overheard someone in the office even talk about it. And yes, it's hard to attribute to word of mouth, but even that is part of the journey that I used to think of. They would have seen something organic whilst they were searching for something else. Then all of a sudden that all comes together when they see your paid ad. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, that brand I keep seeing. Okay, let me check it out. And I just people we always say that in our paid search world, sometimes we get lost in this whole of like, oh yeah, Google Ads clicks. It's a customer you need to think of. It's a customer trying to figure out how a customer gets to a product, decides to buy. That's what you need to really feed into. And, what your language needs to be. Actually, even like the text that the TV ad should be mirrored in that Google ad, right? So if you don't know what the TV ad looks like or the Meta ad, and you're saying something totally contradictory to what has been said on Meta, you're losing. You're throwing money down the drain. Sorry, this should be your stage. I do not know why.
No,
I'm passionate about this kind of stuff.
No, but like that's exactly it. I mean, you nailed it. I think that the cohesion across all of your marketing, none of your marketing should be siloed in such a way that it is like, doing something differently than what the brand should be doing. It needs a brand cohesion. Yeah. Messaging,
Absolutely.
imagery, visuals, all of that needs to have continuity across all of it.
Yes, that's the word, continuity. Brilliant. Brilliant word there.
Love it.
I'd also ask, because sometimes, you said this was about, 12, 13 years ago, early in your career, have even been able to be bold enough to be like, okay, let me ask for the financials. And you must have tried a few things of, pathways to getting that whole picture that didn't work as well. And then, at some point, something worked. So if someone right now is listening, going, okay, how do I make sure I'm not wasting my time, but I still get the information I need? What's your advice for making sure that you get to the right person as quickly as possible?
Yeah, I think your best friend there is going to be the CFO, probably, if there is one, or accounting, however, depending on how large the organization is that you're working with.
Yeah.
But you want to speak to the people who are running the numbers, doing payroll, all of those things where they see all of the profit and loss, all of the money coming in and all of the money going out. And if you can start speaking to them and ask them questions about margin and understand that it's probably going to be multiple different conversations and try
Yeah.
to make a little bit of progress during each conversation
Mm,
and accumulate knowledge from each of those conversations, then you're on the right path, I think. And, it's not something that I think comes together quickly.
no.
Like
Okay.
businesses tend not to operate super quickly like that,
Yeah.
especially small medium businesses. So, I mean, I would be persistent in that, helping to educate other members of the
Mm,
team and people within that business that paid search or Google ads or whatever you're calling the platform or channel that you're working within does not operate on its own. It requires a whole bunch of other inputs
yes.
and knowledge. And so to
Mm,
be able to do the role of a paid search
yeah.
analyst, manager, you're going to need certain financial data to be able to help paint the whole picture.
Yeah, absolutely. I even think that this is even something I'd encourage folks, like especially like yourself, if you started have your own agency or you're a freelancer and you're pitching for this. That should be part of a pitch. That should be
Yeah,
like, we
exactly.
will need this data, and even in those meetings, that in that initial meeting, be like, who are we who are we pitching to? Can we please have the CFO in the room as well, so that we can explain to them that paid search is going to be a part of something, and we're going to need to see data and financials so that this will all work well. That'd make things a bit easier, wouldn't it, for people?
100% great point. And that's something that we usually do as well when we engage. Usually, as part of an audit,
Mm,
Google Ads is just one piece of an audit. We audit their entire marketing infrastructure,
great.
all of their conversion tracking and everything, and then understand all of their margins within their knowledge. Because, and that's always, in my experience, the trickiest thing is that when you tend to speak to or when I tend to speak to people who come in as leads or prospects,
Mm,
they're not often the people who have access to that direct knowledge
yeah,
of your cost of goods sold and your P&Ls and things like that. So it's a bit of a process, but it's so worth your time
yeah,
and their time
yeah,
to be able to get some kind of an understanding there before you really start to engage
yeah.
because it helps again paint a picture that you're either going to be you're either more likely to be successful or less likely
Mm.
to be successful depending on what those financial statements and all of those pieces are kind of telling you.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
So you kind of touched on it, and and maybe that was the answer, or maybe there's more to it in terms of like what what did that experience now make you do differently in terms of with other clients to ensure that you are seeing that holistic view. So you touched on the fact that you make sure you're not just auditing a new lead, you're not just auditing the Google, you're auditing the full marketing journey that they have. Is that pretty much the crux of it, or is there anything else that you guys do now?
I mean, that's the crux of it is that, yeah, we market or we investigate the entire marketing infrastructure, the whole ecosystem. We look at it. I mean, that's the primary lens is like we come in like, okay, great, your Google Ads account, obviously it needs to check some boxes, do some best practices, align with various components of your business,
Mm,
but that's whatever percentage of the entire problem that we're
yeah,
investigating.
yeah,
There's always more, always 100% of the time. It's never just your Google Ads account. In my experience, there's always other things going on, and if there isn't, there probably will be at some point because, we keep saying, it's like it doesn't operate on its own.
no, 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 it doesn't. Okay, and even just like one last question, and we will talk about, yeah, some of the interesting mistakes you found in when auditing some of these accounts. But before we get into that, like if someone is literally just going through this, let's say 6 months, a year in, and nearly every month that they have the monthly meeting, the report is always, yeah, revenue is down, but they feel like they've been doing best practices that is relevant for their account. What's your advice to that person?
Don't be too hard on yourself. First of all, don't beat yourself up. There's probably other things going on. And I would ask questions that the answers to which fall outside of Google Ads.
Yeah,
If you feel really confident that you've done everything you can there. Because, ultimately, there's only so many levers you can pull within Google Ads. It's
yeah.
finite in terms of that. So what other channels are they running? Are they like my next usual area that I'm looking at is, if we're talking about e-commerce, is
Mm.
Meta. What
Yeah. Okay.
what's going on in Meta? Like, did they spend a whole bunch and now they're spending less?
Yeah.
That's a really common,
Mm.
phenomenon I see,
Yeah.
is that when people's Google Ads revenue looks down or revenue's down at the business as a whole. Well, let's take a look at Meta. What are you
That's
doing over there? Are you
yeah.
spending a lot? Did you stop spending a lot?
Yeah.
So looking at various channels, and I think what makes it so complex is that there are often so many different channels, and like email, SMS, and various social and organic, and all of those things have their own, or all those channels have their own means of optimization and doing things that kind of help the whole machinery
Exactly.
operate kind of in
Yeah.
sync to get to the end goal that you want.
Hmm.
So yeah, I would talk to other team members who are running other channels and see what's going on with them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great. Okay, thank you so much for that, Craig. Let's put that, PTSD story back in its box. I know that's what I need to like tell my guests. Like, don't worry. All right, we can put that back into the whole like, oh my God, I can't believe
I
I
never
didn't
want to think
even
about
think
that
of
again.
that.
Thank you.
Yeah, right. Right. Amazing. So now, as you said, you've audited many accounts, especially since that time. What are the mistakes that you see that really get under your skin that you're like, oh my God, I hate that these loads of people are still doing this, making this kind of mistakes. Yeah, give us a few examples.
Conversion tracking, I'd say, is like number one.
Number one. For everybody,
Yeah.
number one.
Okay. It's shock. It's both shocking and yet like it's an opportunity too, right? Like,
Right.
because if you can identify that, I mean, it gives you work that you can help somebody with and
Yeah.
provide value.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of the times I still don't see conversion tracking implemented in a way that represents what gets you closest to business outcomes.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's what we're all trying to do. If we're in
Yeah, exactly.
marketing, we're trying to generate return on investment for the investment spent by your client, by
Mm,
maybe it's your own business. I don't know,
yeah.
but that's our job. And the conversion tracking is like, it it is what guides that whole system, that
Yeah.
whole process. So if you don't have, an end goal set up properly, like if we're talking e-commerce, a purchase with conversion value or revenue attached to that purchase that's coming back into Google and Meta ads, and you're not able to see that in all the areas across all of your different channels in such a way that, shows you what's actually generating revenue,
Mm,
then you have no idea what's going on. You'll have
yeah.
no visibility whatsoever.
Mhm, mhm. But
So,
in terms of
and
like how like what do you think is like the even like the biggest thing that's causing that for people? Is it because it's being done by amateurs who like maybe like a brand that has done it, or people who are like they should have known better and it's something else that they've missed, or is it like a Google thing that that makes it so hard to do? Where would you
question.
say is the biggest like why people are getting it wrong?
That's a really good question. I think it's probably a couple of different things. I think in some cases it's probably a little bit of lack of experience,
Mm,
perhaps. Sometimes I'll see like really well structured accounts, and then the conversion tracking is just kind of like forgotten about. And so I almost wonder if there is a little bit of a knowledge gap, as
yeah,
in terms of the importance of the conversion tracking and what a healthy conversion tracking setup actually looks like,
yeah,
and then how to implement it. Like, those
yeah,
can all be really complicated things too,
yeah.
depending on what the business tech stack looks like.
Mm,
Sometimes it's like, well, I need a developer to help me with this. I can't
you're right.
do this as a paid search person kind of thing. And if that's what the business needs,
Do that.
like, at least in my experience, I went ahead and tried to solve that problem.
Yeah.
So maybe you don't feel that way in the paid search role, but maybe you can speak to another team member who can help you to solve that problem. So it's kind of of critical importance. And sometimes I'll see, like, let's say in Google Ads,
Mm,
and I think, and Google Ads can be a subjective experience, I'll say.
yeah.
Everybody has their own ways of doing things and their own methodologies and whatnot, and that's totally cool. One thing that I don't necessarily agree with is having multiple primary conversion actions that are for different things. For example, if you have a add to cart conversion action
Mm,
and a purchase conversion action, both as primary conversion actions in your Google Ads account, and you're running all your campaigns to both of those conversion actions, I don't think that's how the goal-based bidding algorithm actually functions.
okay.
It needs an end goal, like
Mm,
the one you're trying to actually achieve. Otherwise, it's getting mixed signals about, well, am I getting more people who are adding to cart, or am I getting more people who are actually purchasing? And I think you really want to
yeah.
fill that account with as much like end goal level data as
Yeah.
to what you're trying to achieve as possible, or you're going to be sending mixed signals and maybe not getting the best possible results. And that's just kind of one example that I've seen a number of times.
We know, so conversion tracking is one mistake, but apart from conversion tracking, what's next on the list in terms of like mistakes that you're surprised that people still make?
Surprised at. Okay, for sure. So I'll say that in the US healthcare space, and
Okay.
primarily in, like, let's say dental and orthodontics, we've done a lot of audits of
Mm,
different accounts. And I mean, there's a few things going on, but one is like when agencies don't give access to their clients of the accounts that they're running for them. And it's in those accounts that we often see the most horrendous things
yeah.
going on. Yeah, and so, like, I mean, that's probably almost another story about, like, giving access to clients and stuff, but we're strong believers in transparency,
Yes.
and I think we can all do our jobs better through
Yeah.
that lens.
Yeah.
But it's in some of these accounts, particularly in the US healthcare space, where there are pretty egregious errors going on, conversion tracking being one of many, but also, targeting irrelevant keywords,
Yeah.
mismatches in, like, brand messaging between ads and landing pages, and what the
Mm,
brand is supposed to
mm,
be talking about, and then pointing to 404 pages sometimes, or spending money in areas where, like, like location areas
yeah.
where they're not supposed to be, and maybe where the particular location of this business is not.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if there's an error that can be done,
Mm,
I've
mm.
probably seen it in a US healthcare
Yes.
account.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Maybe like, well, now you're part of our Slack. We're gonna call all the people in healthcare to give their like worst case stories of like, what guys? So let's have a chat
It's
about
pretty
what's going
shocking,
wrong.
honestly. And sometimes it's like
God.
big agencies that you've probably heard of, and we'll go
Yeah.
in and look and be like, "What in
Really?
the heck is?" Yeah, yeah, it's shocking. And I think
It's
what ends up happening in those situations is, like, they'll hire or they'll get really junior people to work on some of these
mm,
accounts, and I
mm,
assume not give much direction,
no.
and or add a ton of automation via, like, scripts and stuff like that, that just turns out nonsense,
Sense.
and, like,
Yeah.
it just does nothing. And then, especially if the client has no access to seeing any of it, they have no
Yeah.
idea what's going
Yeah.
on.
Yep, exactly. And just like, oh yeah, they'll just report numbers. And then
Mhm.
what numbers actually are they actually properly reporting on if they want to make what they're seeing to be what's going wrong to actually make it look like, it's actually going doing the right thing. That's
Yeah,
then what the biggest worry is. Yeah.
yeah. Yep, totally.
Interesting. Now, another let's go into a different direction. We cannot, finish a podcast episode in 2026 and not talk about AI and the impact of AI and how people are reacting to it, how people are using it, and even people's responses to all the AI Google updates that have come out. I won't even talk into like the use of it. I've asked loads of guests about this, but like, we very much more in the several years now, I'd actually consider it like more post-COVID times in terms of like people are a lot more verbal and and vocal as to what they're testing, what they're doing, what they trust, what they don't trust. The August
Mhm.
17th, thing came out, and I made a joke post today going, Google, don't get too pissed off. We just know it's a great LinkedIn strategy to talk and moan about something you guys have changed again. We're probably not with that bothered, but we're like, this is gonna get me views. So like,
It's fair.
right? But like, let's be honest for a second. Like, let's really be honest. Like and just before we started recording, you were like, actually, it didn't, yeah, shake your feathers too much in terms of this latest update. Well, how do you feel that you've seen people reacting to all the AI updates that you think this is a wrong way to approach this? And what's your advice into actually how people should be approaching these updates?
Yeah, I understand I have no control over what Google does, I think
Yeah,
is my core understanding. So I, as a marketer of many years now, understand I have to constantly adapt. And it's wasted energy just complaining about things that are probably not going to change. That's just my opinion. But something like, obviously there's been like over the years in this industry, like I dealt with like mobile first updates
yeah,
and
yeah,
like Google search. And man, smart bidding, like there was no smart bidding when I
yeah,
started.
right.
Like and that was like a whole relearning of Google Ads for me at the time. Like I had to completely re-understand how to do it. And I feel like this is just kind of the next big iteration or cycle of change that we as marketers just need to continue to adapt to. Like
Yeah,
fighting it. I mean, it's like one thing to make your objections clear,
yeah,
and it's totally okay to do so.
yeah,
But to think that you're going to affect change, perhaps, or that you're going to actually make like some kind of a difference, like, well, what is Google going to not roll this out now?
yeah,
Like, come
yeah,
on, of
because
course
you're
they are.
upset. Yeah,
Of course they're going to roll it out. And ultimately, like the August 17th update specifically, this was kind of a nuance inside of Google Ads that people who have been practicing within it for years had some understanding of, and it going away just kind of like shakes up that same thing they've been doing for so long.
yeah,
But it like kind of changes. Like if somebody was coming into Google Ads brand new, I
mm,
think it's better like
yeah,
having
okay.
it aligned to the actual, like it's kind of sounds dumb when I say it, like now they're actually good. You're gonna try and get the target that you set. Oh, it's like, oh, shouldn't it
Right.
have
Yeah.
always worked that way?
Yeah, exactly. Shouldn't it always
Yeah,
have been done this way?
yeah,
That's the kind of thing where like change. What's Google trying to do? Like, guys,
yeah.
that should actually be helpful if you've been doing your job well
Yeah,
all
yeah, and
this
that's
time.
just it. And honestly, like the biggest like, and don't get me wrong, like there have been times in my career when I've been like, oh my god, like not again, like this is gonna
Yeah,
kill me or blah blah blah. Like,
yeah,
and I think I kind of surrendered at some
yeah,
point in my
yeah,
career and was just like, I think things are just gonna always change on
yeah,
me.
yeah.
And I have no control over that. And so the best thing that I can do is to keep learning the new
Mm-hmm.
systems
Mm,
and adapt to whatever I need to adapt to. And
yeah.
that has become one of the biggest components of my job, kind of. It's just like constantly adapting.
Let's adapt. Let's just adapt to it. I think there's one thing to roll out an update that you're like, guys, you guys are just complaining, and then rolling out something that's like, shit. They definitely messed up on that one, and because yeah,
Yeah.
again, people are just looking for that day that they can do that because it's always like, yeah, you see, Google has just wasted our money, and I don't think people have been able to really. Not a lot of people, well, not well, unless they just don't talk about it. They've not really said the times where it's actually they feel Google has made that mistake that stopped them from doing their jobs better. Like,
Yeah.
try.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's rare. I think they make decisions, pretty precisely often in a controlled manner.
Mm,
And I also like to remember, like, before I start waving my fists in the air and complaining to everybody, that they're like legitimately real people that are working in these jobs, that are
yeah.
doing these things. Everybody, either makes mistakes or they make hard choices sometimes too. And to direct anger at
Yeah.
individual people in these job roles
Yeah.
is, I don't find that particularly cool either, to
No,
be
I think that's
honest.
stupid. I think it's
Yeah,
outrightly stupid. I'd say it.
thank you.
I know you were trying to not insult
I'm just being
anybody.
Canadian here.
Yeah, I know, right? Just being kind, being the nice Canadian that you are. Oh, maybe I've got this. That has been plenty. We're closing in on coming almost close to an hour of talking because
Oh,
you've
yeah,
just given us
that's been great.
so many great insights there. Thank you so much, Craig,
Thank
and
you.
you
Thank
giving
you so much,
insights
Anu.
about this. Pleasure. Like I enjoy this. So for me, it's just like,
Me
oh
too.
yeah, let's really talk about the real things going on in our
Oh, I love it.
industry. It's my favorite thing. But yeah, but before we leave you, just like a nice, fun, more relaxed question that's not about mistakes or anything like that. If your PPC career were a movie, what would the title be? It can be a movie that already exists. You can come up with a brand new title, whatever makes sense to you in this moment.
Man, sheesh, that is a great one. I'd say like, I'd say like, oh, this is gonna sound stupid, but like,
Say
I'd
it. I
say
want it. Whatever
Gladiator,
was in your
maybe.
head. Don't be bold. Don't worry. Be
How
bold.
about Gladiator? You're just like, you're
Okay.
just like fighting off like adversity left, right, and center, and then you just, I don't know. I was gonna say, you just die in the end, but
Gladiator was more about life or death, and I think that is what we're just trying to say. That paid search is not about life or death, guys. But
no.
yeah, we're gladiators fighting for the revenue of our clients
There you go.
in a kind of let's put it that way in
I
as
love that. Thank
heroic a
you.
way as we can.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, we got
Perfect.
there. We got there in the end.
Thanks for helping me with that one.
My pleasure. My absolute pleasure. I was like, dude, that's not hard a question.
Okay.
Let's see. So, Craig, I know you're on LinkedIn, but where else? Where else can people find you if they want to, you know, have a longer chat with you, maybe about all the mistakes that can be made about healthcare or conversion tracking, and what they should stay away from. What
Totally.
platforms are you on?
Yeah, I'm primarily on LinkedIn, but you can also connect with me on my website, grayvaultconsulting.com.
Okay, amazing, awesome. Well, thank you, Craig. That's been a fantastic, great chat. Thank you for joining our Slack. We'll continue conversations in there and sure you'll make a very useful part of the community. And actually, it's another next question that I asked because PPC Live is about events. What's the next event that people might be able to find you at?
So I'm planning to attend the event that Jill Saskin Gates is putting on in Toronto in October. So I'm excited to go to that, which I think is like the first Canadian event that I'll be attending, which I'm
it's
super
the
excited.
first digital marketing Canadian event. And I'm so delighted for you guys. It's such a shame I wouldn't be able to make it because she's actually doing it on the day of my birthday. So I'm not like,
okay.
No, I can't be thinking about digital marketing on my
you gotta
birthday.
give
So
yourself a
I'm going to
break.
be flying up somewhere nice and hot and relaxing and drinking cocktails on that day.
Sounds fantastic.
But anyone around in Canada around October 29th, go to Inside Google Ads Live and just search for that. It will be a fantastic event to be had. She's got a fantastic speaker lineup on there. So I really, really advise anyone who can to check that out. And you will also meet Craig in person, which is, the cherry on top for that. So hope you can if in the area. Thank you so much for that fantastic chat, Craig. I'm sure we'll catch up again soon. But for now, thanks. Bye.
Sounds great, Anu. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. So thank you so much, Craig, for sharing that very honest and transparent experience about that mistake that you made and how long it took you to get to the point of just admitting that, look, the issue is not Google Ads and it really requires a conversation. So don't wait a couple of years. Once you get into a few months of working with a client where you see month after month, revenue is down. Get salespeople on board, or even better still, at the point of pitching for the client, make it clear to them that, CFOs will be needed in a conversation. The information that goes to the sales team, that gets to the sales team, that gets into the finance team, that information is important to really ensure that the Google Ads optimization is actually doing what it's supposed to be doing. So for the full information and the full transcript of that fantastic conversation, please go to podcast.ppc.live to get the full details and resources of where you can find Craig next, whether it is to do online communication or to see him in person. in Canada, but also join us on Friday, 28th of August at 5 p.m. UK time. I believe that is 9 a.m. like Pacific time, and that is about midday Eastern time. We're going to do an AMA, and an Ask Me Anything session. Craig is going to help us lead that to help us really dig into the recent smart bidding issues, smart bidding Google Ads update, and what that means for your account. Whether you should be worried that there are changes, or whether you should be worried that there've been no changes, even and just to make sure that you're on the right track. You might already be, but it's really nice to get involved with the community just to confirm that you're on the right track so that you can be confident and report back to your client that you are. Anyway, also PPC Live events, and we're scurrying around right now. August is a holiday month. It's really hard sometimes to get a hold of people, but I've gotten in touch with the people for our venue. They're saying October 21st will be the better date for us. So yeah, October 21st, you might have seen on different promos that I said, say the date of October 22nd, October 21st on the Wednesday is actually the date that we're going to be there. We're also finalizing our speaker list. We're trying to get some brands, to come in and share their side of the story of what paid search is like for them, how they're optimizing and how they're succeeding in 2026. And so, so go to ppc.live, join our Slack to get information about when the tickets are really going to drop, when, the early bird sale is going to start, when when tickets could go up, offers like, group tickets. We're going to do that. If you want to sponsor, please also get in touch at hello@ppcliveuk.com. So before I leave you, I'm also delighted to share that I take on coaching clients. And, if you're, early in your career and just need tips, how to really get into the field, get into a space where you're confident that this is what you like doing, that you feel that it's actually, growing you as a person, as a professional, please get in touch with me. Go to themarketinganu.com, go to the there's a one-to-one coaching, many option that allows you to actually book a free discussion call, which is 15 minutes, free discovery call even, that allows us to discuss exactly what it is that you need and the help that you need to move forward. So I hope you have enjoyed the show, and I look forward to bringing more PPC F-ups and triumphs next week. Thank you. Bye.